The Dissolution Nakshatras, Jyeshtha Chatra, 16 degrees 40 to 30 degrees Scorpio, ruled by Mercury. Symbol, earring, talisman. Ruling deity, Indra, king of the gods. Element, water. Gender, female. Jyeshtha represents dissolution through responsibility, power testing, and emotional intelligence. It is the final nakshatra in Scorpio, and as such, it seeks to dismantle corruption, misuse of power, and emotional deception, especially within hierarchies. Ruled by Mercury, it carries psychological sharpness and hidden leadership. Jyeshtha's path often involves the dismantling of inherited authority or trauma bonds and establishing inner sovereignty instead of outer dominance. In angular houses, ascendant, 3rd, 6th, or 10th, it creates karmic protectors, power detachers, and emotionally strategic leaders who dissolve the ego's attachment to control. Jyeshtha in ascendant, Scorpio rising. With Jyeshtha rising, the personality is intense, commanding, and energetically private. These natives may carry childhood wounds around control, manipulation, or being emotionally parentified. As they mature, their path involves dissolving the need to dominate or be dominated. Mercury here sharpens strategic intelligence, mentalists, deep counselors, or karmic detectives. Moon adds intuitive command, spiritual protectors, trauma alchemists, or emotional mentors. Mars fuels protective leadership, those who defend the weak or step into shadow work. Venus brings sensual leadership, therapists, mystics, or artists who command subtle emotional fields. Jyeshtha rising maintains identity by dissolving dysfunctional power roles and stepping into inner seniority. Jyeshtha in 3rd house, Virgo rising. Jyeshtha in the 3rd house makes communication psychologically strategic and emotionally layered. These individuals use words to decode power, trauma, or emotional complexity. Mercury or Moon gives intuitive educators, grief writers, psychological lyricists, or guides in communication ethics. Mars adds assertive truth-telling, legal advocates, strategic consultants, or siblings who dissolve family myths. Venus brings healing magnetism, ritual storytellers, intimacy writers, or sensual communicators. Saturn lends depth and caution, those who use communication to gently dissolve harmful traditions or empower silenced voices. Jyeshtha in the 3rd maintains emotional truth and expression by unveiling what's unspoken and dismantling manipulative speech patterns. Jyeshtha in 6th house, Gemini rising. Here, Jyeshtha becomes a karmic strategist in service, particularly skilled at exposing and healing invisible power imbalances. These natives often face betrayal, manipulation, or competition in work, only to become fierce boundary keepers. Mercury or Moon in this placement gives trauma-informed healers, karmic analysts, or integrity-based mentors in service. Mars energizes karmic conflict resolution, employment rights enforcers, sexual harassment investigators, or mental health warriors. Venus softens power work, emotional boundary educators, or sensual energy workers in therapy contexts. Saturn brings lasting reform, policy correctors, hidden system auditors, or those who detoxify toxic work cultures. Jyeshtha in the 6th maintains ethical service by dissolving energetic domination and restoring autonomy in daily structures. Jyeshtha in 10th house, Aquarius rising, publicly Jyeshtha plays the role of the invisible power holder, legacy protector, or emotional authority. These individuals are trusted with karmic visibility. They do not seek fame, but earn respect through subtle mastery. Mercury or Moon here makes influential guides, public therapists, emotional reformers, or leaders of healing institutions. Mars brings strategic reform, those who dissolve outdated power models in corporations or advocacy. Venus gives soft control, PR experts, intuitive business consultants, or public figures who move culture from behind the scenes. Saturn grants legacy work, gatekeepers of emotional intelligence in governance, justice, or policy. Jyeshtha in the 10th maintains public integrity by dismantling exploitative hierarchies and installing emotionally intelligent leadership. The Dissolution Nakshatras, Part 7, Uttara Ashada Nakshatra, 26 degrees 40 Sagittarius, 10 degrees Capricorn, ruled by symbol, elephant's tusk, victory arch, ruling deity, Vishvadevas, universal principles, element, fire, gender, female. Uttara Ashada symbolizes dissolution through righteous perseverance and ethical transcendence, governed by the sun and rooted in both fiery Sagittarius and disciplined Capricorn. It dismantles false claims to truth, status, and success by restoring Dharma. It dissolves arrogance, inherited privilege, or superficial authority, and rebuilds true character and earned legacy. As a dissolution nakshatra, it purifies ambition, aligning action with universal ethics rather than personal gain. In angular houses, ascendant, 3rd, 6th, or 10th, it manifests as a principled reformer, ethical warrior, or public guardian of moral clarity. Uttara Ashada in ascendant, Sagittarius, or Capricorn rising. With Uttara Ashada rising, the native's identity is bound to duty, truth, and ethical pressure. These individuals appear dignified, resilient, and often carry karmic burdens that require them to burn away self-righteousness and embody universal law. Sun or Jupiter here brings visionary authority. Spiritual teachers, principled influencers, or moral anchors. Moon or Venus adds humility and grace, nurturing guides, cultural educators, or aesthetic reformers with depth. Mars makes determined truth enforcers, activists, policy advocates, or karmic disruptors. Saturn enhances structure and discipline, legacy builders, institutional reformers, or karmic carriers of long-standing dharmic missions. Uttara Ashada ascendant maintains identity by dissolving superficial power and embodying earned wisdom. Uttara Ashada in 3rd house, Libra or Scorpio rising. In the 3rd, Uttara Ashada refines communication into mission-driven expression. The native often bears the task of dissolving unethical speech, manipulative media, or shallow thinking. Sun or Jupiter gives truth-tellers, ethical influencers, justice-based writers, or Dharma-centered educators. Mercury provides verbal skill in service of reform, those who structure content for moral clarity, law, or education. Moon or Venus offers poetic voice, those who maintain relational balance through responsibility and emotional truth. Mars sharpens argument, debaters, contract advocates, or whistleblowers. Uttara Ashada in the 3rd maintains the karmic quality of communication by cleansing false narratives and realigning voice with values. Uttara Ashada in 6th house, Cancer or Leo rising. In the 6th, Uttara Ashada becomes a karmic purifier in systems of service, justice, or health. These natives often fight against systemic corruption, inequality, or spiritual neglect within institutions. Sun or Saturn here grants quiet endurance, policy critics, administrative reformers, or ethical watchdogs. Moon or Venus offers care-based reform, welfare officers, healers in moral service, or karmic therapists. Mars sharpens duty, public defenders, ethical enforcers, or justice-oriented warriors. Jupiter guides righteous service, those aligned with higher purpose in education, wellness, or law. Uttara Ashada in the 6th maintains social health by dissolving ego-driven service models and restoring integrity and collective care. Uttara Ashada in 10th house, Pisces or Aries rising. At the peak of visibility, Uttara Ashada projects legacy leadership grounded in virtue. These natives are seen as stabilizers of truth, fairness, and ethical evolution, public authorities who dissolve deceit and uphold universal Dharma. Sun or Jupiter brings visible righteousness, worldly leaders, humanitarian figures, or spokespeople for collective justice. Moon or Venus adds emotional resonance, public nurturers, caretakers of conscience, or cultural ambassadors. Mars fuels bold public action, reform politicians, disciplined CEOs, or defenders of moral law. Saturn brings enduring structure, those who clean institutions of moral decay and build platforms that outlast generations. Uttara Ashada in the 10th maintains ethical authority by dissolving false public images and restoring virtue to leadership. The Dissolution Nakshatras, Shatabhisha Nakshatra 6040 to 20Ds Aquarius, ruled by Rahu. Symbol, 100 physicians, empty circle, ruling deity Varuna, god of cosmic law, element ether, gender, neuter. Shatabhisha represents dissolution through isolation, truth revelation, and energetic healing. It confronts hidden illnesses, personal, collective, systemic, and seeks to restore alignment through austere insight, mystic detachment, and spiritual disinfection. Governed by Rahu and located in boundary-dissolving Aquarius, it exposes illusions cloaked as logic or progress and strips down reality to its cosmic rawness. Shatabhisha heals by detaching from external validation and dismantling false ideals of perfection, science, or social conformity. In angular houses, ascendant 3rd, 6th, or 10th, it manifests as a shadow analyst, metaphysical reformer, or karma-purging visionary. Shatabhisha in ascendant, Aquarius rising. With Shatabhisha rising, the native often carries an aura of mystique, independence, and emotional opacity. They appear rational and progressive, but often hide deep psychic wounds. Their identity forms through detachment, and their growth depends on dissolving ego defenses formed from alienation, rejection, or intellectual elitism. Rahu here brings karmic tests of isolation and visionary healing. Saturn grounds detachment into long-term reform, reclusive researchers, karmic watchers, or institutional shamans. Mercury or Moon brings subtle cognition, mental health mentors, thinkers on existential grief, or hermetic healers. Venus offers cool grace, aesthetic philosophers, spiritual design artists, or etheric counselors. Shatabhisha rising maintains identity by dissolving ego through self-inquiry and becoming a vessel of unseen truth. Shatabhisha in third house, Sagittarius rising. In the third house, Shatabhisha deconstructs mental and communicative illusions. These individuals speak from a place of insight, often blending intellectual brilliance with emotional detachment. Mercury or Rahu here makes for cyber intellectuals, system debunkers, or communicators of uncomfortable truths. Moon adds emotional intelligence, those who explore grief, loss, and existential angst in writing or speech. Venus lends grace to edge, metaphysical lyricists, mental wellness bloggers, or abstract storytellers. Mars energizes rebel messaging, activist communicators, whistleblowers, or taboo topic teachers. Shatabhisha in the third maintains intellectual honesty by dissolving shallow dialogue and restoring sacred space in communication. Shatabhisha in sixth house, Virgo rising. In the sixth, Shatabhisha becomes a karmic cleanser of disease, delusion, and dysfunctional service structures. These natives often carry wounds from workplaces or health issues and are destined to purify and reform such environments. Rahu or Mercury brings analytical disruption, data ethicists, holistic system engineers, or diagnostic savants. Moon or Venus makes emotional healers, alternative therapists, spiritual nurses, or recovery counselors. Saturn lends institutional purification, bureaucratic reformers, or karmic adjusters. Mars energizes truth-centered action, NGO leaders, legal rebalancers, or frontline activists. Shatabhisha in the sixth maintains healing by dismantling toxic obligations and creating new frameworks of cosmic service. Shatabhisha in 10th house, Taurus rising. In the 10th, Shatabhisha channels its detachment and reformist vision into public truth-telling, metaphysical leadership, or institutional purification. These natives are seen as strange, brilliant, or ahead of their time, and often become public voices for alternative healing or hidden knowledge. Rahu or Saturn in this position gives visionary public figures, mystic scientists, data futurists, or ethical reformers. Mercury or Moon communicates esoteric truths, public philosophers, awareness campaigners, or transparency advocates. Venus adds magnetism, artists revealing societal shadows, or designers of cosmic aesthetics. Shatabhisha in the 10th maintains public integrity by dissolving illusionary fame and installing truth-based visibility grounded in universal law. The Dissolution Nakshatras, Part 9. Revati Nakshatra, 16 degrees 40 to 30 degrees Pisces, ruled by Mercury. Symbol, pair of fish, ruling deity, Pushan, protector of journeys, element, water, gender, female. Revati symbolizes dissolution through transcendence, compassion, and divine completion. As the final nakshatra of the zodiac, Revati's role is to release worldly attachments, guide lost souls home, and offer healing through surrender. Governed by Mercury in the mystic sign of Pisces, Revati blends intelligence with intuition, dissolving rigidity, time-bound logic, and egoic ambition in favor of grace, service, and spiritual closure. When placed in angular houses, ascendant, 3rd, 6th, or 10th, it manifests as softly powerful nurturers, spiritual stewards, or unseen dissolvers of karmic knots. Revati and ascendant Pisces rising. With Revati rising, the personality is gentle, imaginative, and spiritually attuned. These individuals often feel like old souls, drawn to help others, often while silently carrying their own wounds. They dissolve personal ego through quiet sacrifice or mystical withdrawal. Mercury or Jupiter here gives compassionate communicators, intuitives, or spiritual guides. Moon adds emotional resonance, nurturers of the forgotten, artists of the invisible, or caretakers of grief. Venus brings beauty to surrender, devotional artists, therapists, or empaths who channel divine love. Mars adds courage to compassion, social healers or defenders of the delicate. Revati rising maintains identity by dissolving separation and living as a channel for universal care. Revati in third house, Capricorn rising. In the third house, Revati dissolves rigid communication habits and replaces them with soulful connection. These individuals express themselves with symbolism, softness, or sacred storytelling. Mercury or Moon gives poetic teachers, channelers, or dream-based communicators. Venus lends grace and imagery, songwriters, artistic therapists, or social media voices of compassion. Mars may bring movement-based healing, breathwork coaches, sacred dancers, or yoga messengers. Saturn creates disciplined spiritual teachers, those who transmit ancient knowledge with care. Revati in the third maintains subtle truth through communication that connects soul to soul and dismantles logical excess. Revati in sixth house, Libra rising. Here, Revati brings healing and forgiveness into broken systems, dissolving emotional residue within conflict and caregiving. These individuals often serve quietly and spiritually, healers, hospice workers, or those in karmic service. Mercury or Moon gives intuitive service planners, grief counselors, nutrition healers, or heart-first caseworkers. Venus adds compassionate beauty, those who bring aesthetics and peace into hospitals, shelters, or recovery spaces. Mars adds gentle strength, animal rescuers, energetic first responders, or protectors of the fragile. Jupiter brings mission, faith-based service leaders, or spiritual rehab architects. Revati in the sixth maintains wellness through karmic dissolution, compassion-based caregiving, and graceful retreat from ego-bound service. Revati in 10th house, Gemini rising. In public life, Revati creates visible sanctuaries for collective healing and spiritual completion. These individuals often become known for their ability to end cycles, offer closure, or lead with grace. Mercury or Moon brings visible empaths, public grief doulas, spiritual artists, or media voices of transcendence. Venus makes luminous legacies, public figures who inspire through kindness, beauty, and surrender. Mars adds devotion to duty, reformers of mental health spaces, or those who dissolve systemic violence with compassion. Jupiter grants spiritual leadership, gurus, holistic visionaries, or legacy stewards of divine knowledge. Revati in the 10th maintains social harmony, dissolving egoic power structures and installing soul-centered leadership through humility.